I've started my second wrist tickler. You want an 8-inch one online.
That was a live disaster on the bakery. Oh my
One of my hairs in it there. Occupational hazard.
All those years ago, when you used to sell yarn,
Yeah.
that makes us sound so old.
All those years ago.
Many moons ago.
15 because it's got some sparkle in it. I think it might be, I can't remember. It's either 18. Oh, I've got 18. No, it's all gone wrong. I'm having to do maths.
Any more episodes of my favourite colourways nearly weren't happening.
Oh my goodness, this was awful. It's up here. Your tummy was making noises. Okay.
This was a mystery. Like Hercule Poirot was needed.
This was awful. This was all skein of embroidery floss. Main skeins, that rhymes.
Welcome everybody to the Bakery Bears video show featuring such an unbelievably special My Favourite Colourways.
Yes.
Now, last show, we officially launched our summer of stitching. Oh yes!
We did.
It has begun. And actually,
Yes.
all the way through today, there's going to be little sort of
There is.
exciting things and moments going on.
Yeah.
Already our Moonstruck Socks lace knitting course is underway. I think we're
is.
on the second or third video and that's running now
Yes.
through into June.
Into June.
Your timed sock series where you're taking a deep dive into how long, and actually people are loving this.
Yeah.
People
It's been brilliant.
are trying it along with you.
That's what I wanted.
Yes.
I wanted everybody to stop timing themselves. I know a lot of you won't be interested in doing that, but I think it's such a useful thing to do. It certainly has proven to be really, really helpful for me.
Yeah. And whilst, of course, there's loads of things like we've mentioned for our Bakery Bear patrons, here on the show, we, of course, are also celebrating the summer of stitching. And today, we're going to do that in some style because I think it is fair to say that over the years, well, you've dyed a lot of colourways.
I have.
And one of the ones which I recall being when you did all those years ago, when you used to sell yarn.
Yeah.
That makes us sound so old.
All those years ago.
Many moons ago.
Well, it's probably like 2017 or 18 or something.
You say 27 years though, so we're not that
27
old.
years. Yeah.
Around about 2017, Kay created this particular colourway and it was so unbelievably popular. And you started My Favourite Colourways in 2020.
Right.
And we've had quite a few sort of regular messages over that time asking if you would share this particular colourway. It's a Harry Potter colourway.
It's a Harry Potter.
And everyone always gets very excited about Harry Potter colourways, don't
Absolutely, yeah. I have dyed quite a lot of Harry Potter colourways, but this one, it's one of my favourites, and it was always sold, in like nanoseconds when I dyed it up. So I hope you enjoy it.
And the funny thing is, well, can I say which one it is?
You can,
Yes,
if you
yes.
want to say now. That's exciting.
Kay's dyeing up Sirius.
Sirius.
Yes, Sirius Black.
Yes.
It's the colourway inspired by Sirius, but not only that, it has a coordinating mini with it.
It does.
Called Hogwarts at Dusk.
Yes.
And it's just gorgeous.
Yeah.
So gorgeous, in fact, that when Kate posted a picture of it on Instagram, someone asked if you shipped to Australia, was it?
Yeah. They wanted to buy some. I'm really sorry, everyone. I don't sell my yarn anymore. But, you can do it yourself.
Because if Kay still sold a yarn, she wouldn't be making My Favourite Colourways.
I absolutely wouldn't, no, because I'm obviously giving away my recipes and my colourways. So, I wouldn't be doing that if I still sold my yarn. It's just not, unfortunately, how it works with yarn dyers, is it? But no,
Do you know what it makes me think of? It makes me... I can't remember where this saying comes from. But give a man a fish and you'll feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you'll feed him for a lifetime.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that is what My Favourite Colourways is doing, isn't it?
It is, and I know a lot of people might think, I just don't want to do that, and that's fine if you don't want to do it, obviously. But you might find actually if you just give it a go, it wouldn't cost very much just to get a few supplies. You know, just this colourway I'm doing today just uses 3 dye colours, so it's really not an expensive one to dye up. And honestly, the joy that I get of knitting with yarn that I've dyed, it's just so, you know, it's so beyond the joy of any other yarn. You know, if you've dyed it yourself, it's just like, oh, you know, I'm just so excited. I just, you know, because every time I dye something up, it dyes up slightly different, you know, that's the joy of a hand-dyed yarn.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh, knitting it really quickly to see what it knits up like. It's so lovely.
The really funny thing is, though, this episode of My Favourite Colourways, and in fact, any more episodes of My Favourite Colourways, nearly weren't happening.
Oh my goodness, this was awful. It's up here. I can reach it up here. So,
this was a mystery. Like, Hercule Poirot was needed.
This was awful, right? I woke up a couple of mornings before I was planning on dyeing, you know, this one up. And I thought, oh, right, you know, I'll go in my dye books and I'll find the recipe. And then I thought, do you know what? I don't know that I've seen that dye book for ages. And I just had a feeling I'd got another dye book and I didn't know where it was. So I went hunting that morning. I didn't want to, I always get up early before everyone else, and I didn't want to start rifling through everything because I didn't want to make too much noise. But I was racking my brain thinking I haven't seen that other dye book. And it was that long since I'd seen it, I couldn't even remember what it looked like. So I was like panicking, thinking that's it, you know, because I knew that this particular dye book was from when I was dyeing up most of my colourways.
The thing is, though, it's not just this. It's like, look at the size of it.
Well, that's what I mean. It's got lots and lots and lots of my colourways in it.
You've not done very many of these colourways from this book.
No, I haven't. Not at all. I think I might have done one out of here.
So this is the good stuff, people.
It's the good stuff, and I was like, I just don't know where it is. So when everyone was up, I just ripped all of I just took every book out.
Panic setting.
I found that, you know, the other 2 dye books, no problem. I'm like, it's not here. I don't know what to do. I don't know what I'm going to do. I said, well, that's it.
That's it.
I've not got the book.
We're finished.
There's no way I can remember any of these things. And then you had the brilliant idea of looking back on past videos.
No.
I remembered that early on in My Favourite Colourways, I dyed up. I just mentioned it in passing, didn't I?
You didn't remember.
No, I didn't remember.
You.
I mentioned it in passing. Because I said, oh, the colourways that are in that book, and I started reeling off all of these colourways, and I said, oh, and water sprites in there.
And that was the first ever in the series last year.
And Dan said, we've done that one. I was like, what? Then we went back to that video and watched it, and I held up the book. And
so then she knew what she was looking for.
I knew what I was looking for. I said, I totally remember the book. So I knew what I was looking for.
Also, as well, that changed it from, because we were thinking that Kay had lost this book in like 2018, 19.
Yeah.
We were thinking she hadn't had it since then.
So I knew that I had it.
How are we going to find it?
Yes, I knew that I had it, obviously, when I dyed up that one. And I was like, right, okay, you know, what has happened in that interim? And then it suddenly dawned on me, we had the carpets replaced. Like back end of last year.
So we moved everything.
So we moved, all of this had to be moved.
So you thought.
And I thought, I wonder if it's fallen down the back of this unit here, because they don't have backs on. These IKEA ones don't have backs on. And guess what?
It had.
It was there.
Woohoo! Found.
It was down the
situation resolved.
Right at the bottom.
Do you know what this reminds me of?
I couldn't believe it.
Do you remember when Bob Monkhouse lost his joke book?
No.
Do you not remember?
No.
This was on like national news. It was
lost
really
his
funny.
joke book?
Yes. The funny thing is, I didn't realise he ever had a joke book.
No, I didn't know comedians did that. But I suppose how would they remember all of their jokes?
I'm trying to imply that Bob Monkhouse wasn't very funny.
I liked him. He was endearing.
I knew him more as a quiz show presenter.
I really liked him as a quiz show presenter. I never really knew him as a sort of
90s,
comedian.
I think, full on, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And maybe into the 2000s, maybe.
Was it Family Fortunes? I used to watch Family Fortunes the most.
Anyway, he lost his joke book and he was on national news.
Right.
I mean, it looked like there'd been a death in the family. You know, he was like putting out a national appeal, and I think he found it.
That's brilliant,
amazing.
Isn't it? So yes, I found it, everyone, and I was like, oh, look at all these colourways, and there was Sirius.
Yes, and there is our future series of My Favourite Colourways.
And you'd taken Bryony to school, hadn't you? And you'd said to Bryony, "Oh, Bryony, Mum's lost one of her dye books," like this. And Bryony was like, "Oh, she'll find it."
Yeah.
So anyway, you texted, didn't you? "Mum's found a dye book," and Bryony's like, "Okay."
Look, people are now chomping at the bit. They're desperate to see this amazing My Favourite Colourways. We've built it up so much.
I know.
We have so much to show you today. It is just bananas. It truly is. So without further ado, I think it's time that I ask, Kay Jones, what's on your needles?
Oh, well, it is on a needle, just a different sort of needle.
Ladies and gentlemen, the summer of stitching.
Very exciting.
We spoke about last time, and I'm not sure if we mentioned that one of the things that we're doing in this year's summer of stitching what is this lovely thing?
Well,
I can't quite remember what it's called.
This is the project that we are going to be working through when we do Stitchy U this year. So Stitchy U is a hand embroidery course.
For the first time ever.
First time ever. So it's going to run through July and August.
Correct. And the wonderful thing is, Kay's done all these absolute beginner videos.
Yeah.
So if you've never ever done it before, through the early part of July, it's all absolute beginner.
Yes, that's all. We're going to release all of the videos for each of the individual stitches so that everyone can practice those stitches if they need to before we actually start the piece that we're going to be working on. So what I did was I designed the sort of graphics for this. I came up with the idea, designed the graphics, and then I did an initial piece, start to finish, myself, and then I made that into something. And then I've done another one all again, and that's when we've been filming it.
So by the end
through
of it,
each stage. So by the end of it, I'll have
everyone who completes the course, you're going to be quite an accomplished hand embroiderer by the end.
Well, you'll have a really good idea, and you will have had a lot of practice because I deliberately designed something that would have a lot of practice for stitching in. So what I've got here is I've got my first piece, which I made into a bag. If you remember, I showed you this bag some time ago, and I said I couldn't show you the other side because that's where the piece was. I'd incorporated it into a bag. And then I've got another piece that I'm working on that I've almost completed because we've nearly finished now, haven't we, filming the series. So I've almost completed the second one. And I've just adjusted the colours slightly on the second one. So, I mean, that'll be fun to see. But when I was thinking of what the piece should look like, I don't quite know what to call it, what the artwork should look like, I suppose, the template. I did initially think, because a lot of people, when they're embroidering, they do like sort of flowery things, don't they? And I thought, oh yeah, well maybe that might be nice. And I did go down that route, and I actually came up with a design which was like a sort of border of flowers. I sort of thought, well, do you know what? I do see this a lot, and I would think I'd rather create something that's a bit more individual, but also, although it's very pretty, the flowers, there's not kind of a lot of real estate for your stitching. It's quite delicate.
That's harder.
And I kind of wanted something that was a little bit more like, larger areas that would really give you the opportunity of practicing stitches, of filling in, with stitches, because I think it's that repetitive. It's like anything, isn't it? When you're practicing something, you just need to do it over and over.
Yeah.
So I came up with something, and I showed it to maybe one person, I think. I've really kept it a secret. Just to get a bit of feedback, and they really loved it. So I thought, right, okay, I'm going to go with that, and I really love it. So I think what I'll do is I'll show you the bag first, and then I'll show you the second one I'm working on.
Yes.
So this is what we're going to be stitching through Stitchy U. So here, there's a crease in it because it's been folded up on my shelf, the bag. Here's the piece.
Yes!
That we're going to be stitching.
Could it be more perfect for a project bag? It could not.
Well, I don't think so. So it's this lovely toadstool house.
And you designed that?
Yeah, I did. I looked online for lots of images of I think I put something like mushroom house or toadstool house or something, you know, and you click on images, and I found lots of images, and in the end I freehand drew this from a sort of basic image I found, but then I added extra things in, like I'm sure the grass I added in extra windows, the chimney pot, I think I changed the spots slightly. So I just took something as inspiration, and then I kind of freehand drew it and then refined it, and then I thought, right, okay, I'll have a go at stitching it, you know. And through the course we do absolutely everything. So you'll get the template that you can print off, and then I show you how to transfer that onto the fabric without the use of a light box. You don't need a light box. I wanted to kind of keep everything really as basic and as cost effective as possible.
So anyone could do it?
So anyone could do it, yeah.
The funniest thing of all was when you had to learn how to transfer your hand drawing onto Bryony, our daughter Bryony. She's a big time artist, and she has one of those iPads with a pen, so she taught you how to that was amazing.
I said to her, I said, Bryony, this is what I've got to do. I said, I've got this image, it was just drawn on an A4 piece of paper. I said, I need to make this into a PDF that people can print off on an A4 piece of paper. And she just went, oh, simple, right, come on. I'm like, right, okay. And she totally helped me do it on the iPad, you know, and it was absolutely perfect. So there's an A4 PDF that you can print, that you print off right at the very beginning, and then I show you how to... You
even drew a bobbin on there, didn't you, as well?
Yes, I've even, because, you know, I've come from a standpoint of a complete beginner. So I thought, well, you know, it's likely other people will be too. So I even talk about how, this is a bit of a mess now because I've been working from it, but I even talk about how I store my threads. And I've put in there a little template as well of the cardboard bobbin that I use to store my threads, and I show you on the videos how to make that and how then to wind your thread onto it. So all that's included. So, you know, we transfer the piece onto the fabric. I talk a lot about fabric because if you look at the fabric, I've actually used a piece of quilting cotton, and this is a Liberty. It's not Liberty Lawn. I'm not a fan of Liberty Lawn. It's Liberty quilting cotton, so just their standard quilting cotton, and I love that. It's a beautiful fabric. So this is just from that, and it's just some that I had in my stash. So I decided to use that because, again, I just thought people are more likely to have just a little scrap piece of fabric somewhere, or you could use an old duvet cover, or, you know, anything. I just really wanted to make it, again, I was thinking of costs, and I don't want people to have to go out and spend a lot of money to be able to join in. And threads are not expensive. You know, I think they're 79 pence for a little skein of embroidery floss. So it is very inexpensive to join in. So yeah, that's my first one that I stitched up. And I just thought that image would appeal to so many people because, I've put home underneath it because then you could give it as depending on what you make it into, and I do talk about what you can do with your finished piece in the last video.
And combine the finished piece with your already existing bag making tutorials.
Yes, I just used my bag making tutorial that's already out there.
Literally, I had to send you the videos.
Yeah, I did. Because I can never remember, so I have to watch my own videos.
It's great.
So I just patchworked it together and didn't do a massively brilliant job, if I'm honest with that. But, don't look too closely at my joins here. They're not brilliant. But I thought you could use it and frame it as a housewarming present. You could put it onto a bag. You could incorporate into a quilt. There's lots of things you can do with your finished piece. So that's the one that's completed, and then this is the one I'm currently working on. I'm almost done. So this is the bag I've been keeping it in. It's a beautiful one that I showed you a while ago, actually. It's from Alex Collins, and I just love it. And I can't wait to finish using it for this, because then I can put a knitting project in it. Oh, I love that.
It just sounds funny. I can't wait to finish using it for this, because then I can put something else in it.
Yeah, I know. It's a really lovely bag. It's been perfect for this project. It really has. So here is the second piece that I'm almost finished with, and I've got thread sort of hanging off because I'm working on two areas at once. So here we go. So I changed the colours just slightly for this one. This one's got a lovely pink door, and this blue's a bit deeper, and I've done a more sort of cranberry coloured mushroom. The other one was a little bit sort of rusty coloured. So all I've got left to do is the grass down here, and then all of the outlining, and then this one will be done as well, and I can make this into something else. So it's been such fun to do it, and you know, it's been something that's new to me as well, and it's just been great to learn a new skill, and then to share me learning a new skill, if that makes sense, with, you know, all of our patrons. I think it'll be really fun, and I hope you'll really enjoy it. But as you can see from this, the reason I decided to choose this is you've got lots of opportunity for all this filling in. You know, it takes these two areas, the house itself, did take a little while. But do you know what? By the end of doing these two, I just from looking at my second one and then looking at my first one, I can see a difference. I can see that my second one does look neater. My stitches look neater. So I think even just doing that little bit of work, it just shows you how much you then learn to then, you know, to transfer it to your next piece that you decide to work on. It's just been really fun. I've really enjoyed it, and I'm really thrilled to be able to produce, you know, something that is different to anything else we've done before. Yet we're still in the area, aren't we, of stitching and crafting, and I do find my experience is that if you knit and you crochet, quite often you might be a quilter, or you might be a cross stitcher, or, you know, have dabbled in those areas. So it might be that you've never actually done hand embroidery, but you've made quilts or you've made bags like I have, and it's just so nice to do something that's just a bit different, and to create something different. And then, you know, having this bag, I've just loved it. Every time I've picked up this bag, I'm like, oh yes, you know, I made the bag, but then, you know, I made that lovely piece on there, and it's just so nice. And I can just imagine it as well, maybe if you do 2 or 3 of these in different colours and you make a quilt and just dot them around, and then if you chose fabrics that sort of coordinated in the autumnally sort of colours. I've got this one here that's sort of Halloweeny a little bit. I just really love it. So that's Stitchy U. Very exciting. I really hope all of you out there that are seeing this for the first time are thinking that you might want to join in. I really hope you do, because I think you'll enjoy it. I've really enjoyed it, and that's how I judge really everything that I do, design-wise, and, you know, tutorials, everything. If I just feel like I've got to really enjoy it, and if I enjoy it, then I just feel that other people will enjoy it as well. So yeah, Stitchy U coming soon.
That's amazing. It's been so lovely to film as well, because we've approached it in a slightly different way, which has been really exciting. So
yeah, we've filmed it in a slightly different way.
Looking forward to sharing all that. Yeah, it's going to be great. And that starts in July. Literally the very beginning of July. Yes.
So Dan Jones.
Yes.
What's on your needles?
Well, unfortunately, it's a complete and utter disaster.
Why? What's happened?
I have no idea.
You've not told me about this.
I'm sure. Well, it's only just happened.
Just now?
Yeah, I'm sure this has happened to many people before.
Oh no! What's he done?
What I don't have is a DPN holder big enough for these needles, so I've never been able to put them on a DPN holder.
Right.
So I've taken projects in and out of bags 100 times.
Oh no! All your stitches have come off.
On 2 needles, and it's well, I'm just gonna have to do it again.
Oh no!
And I'd done all of that fresh, so you know that's sort of cool. It's not like I'm showing you like 2 centimeters of work.
Oh no!
Yeah, I mean, look, it's totally ruined.
I mean, do you want me to try and see if I can fix it?
And I think it would be a fool's errand, and the reason being is...
Oh, it's laddered down there, hasn't it?
Yes, and that's not actually taken me that long to do.
It's Dan's mitt. I don't know if you can see here. Have you tried to put stitches back on then?
I tried to save as many as I could.
Yeah, there's like some laddering.
Unfortunately.
Oh, sorry, don't
It's okay. So go ahead and show.
It's sort of laddered down.
2 needles came completely off.
it's laddered down here, and all on the back I can see that there's strands. And I suppose the problem when it's colourwork is you don't know what colourwork bit it is to ladder it back up.
And the amount of work, in my opinion, the amount of work it would take to identify what needed to go where. We could do it, but then I could apply the same amount of work and get back to that point. So
yeah. Do you think I mentioned to you recently? I thought these needles were too slippery because you have dropped stitches quite a few times, not with this project, but using these needles I have had to catch stitches for you, and I have said to you before, I wonder if they're too slippy.
That was on 2.5mm socks.
But it was these needles though, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't think the needles are a problem because I've not dropped any stitches on this project.
Right.
And the needles work great for me. I think the issue was on that sock, which is where I was dropping stitches left, right and centre. And it was on lace. So it was an absolute nightmare.
Right, okay.
The reason was I was just not used to working on 2.5mm needles. But, the right thing to do. An interesting question here is, in this situation, pulling that yarn out and reworking with it would not be a particularly good idea, would it?
It wouldn't be a problem.
All right, so the right thing to do is to just pull it all out, wind it up.
I don't think you'll need to pull it all out, though.
What? I think people will be interested. Well,
all we need to do really is just tink back to below where you've got that error. So it.
Oh, right, okay.
All I would do is I would pull out all of the needles.
Yeah.
And then one by one, I'd take the needles and I'd go underneath where we've got the problem.
Right.
And just you just go in the right legs and pick up the stitches. It's like when you're doing an afterthought heel on a sock.
So what you're going to do is you're going to stick the needles in, lower down the work, and then rip back to where you've put the needles in at.
Yes.
Right.
I don't see any reason why it shouldn't work.
Right.
I mean, your stitches are a bit wonky down there. You've just got to make sure that you get that you're on the same row all the way round. Because if you pick up a stitch and then you happen to pick up the one that's like below it or above it, it won't then rip out fully. I mean, you can jiggle it, but ideally, I've done this before with socks many times, if I've made a mistake in the pattern. As long as you find a row that's just plain knitting, ideally it needs to be plain knitting, not with yarn overs and knit two togethers and all of that business, then we should be able to just find the start of your round, which will probably be here, won't it?
Right.
And, just go through the right legs of all of the stitches, and then that'll pick them all back up and then just rip out.
By all means, if you want to give that a go, so long as it doesn't take... I don't want it to take...
It won't take long.
Right, okay. So give that a go if that works.
It won't take long.
Great.
10 minutes maybe.
And then I can work out what
row it's on. We'll be able to work out because we'll be able to see how the colours are laying on that row.
Yeah, and also I'm not that far into the motif anyway, so it's fine. Since I saw you last,
oh dear,
I finished this whole one.
Yeah, look at that.
Which is really cool. It actually fits our daughter Bryony brilliantly.
It fits her better than me because she's got longer fingers than me. She's always had really long fingers. Can you remember when she was a tiny baby?
Yeah.
She had really long thumbs.
Yeah.
And we were like, look at her thumbs. They're really long. And, so her fingers are still, they're longer than mine, when we put hands together. So they fit her better than me. Perfectly, actually.
Finished that one, started the new one. And it was so difficult. Now that I went through the whole process of comparing, do you remember I couldn't work out why the Latvian braids had come out so weird, and then I obviously established that I wasn't understanding the way it had been written because it was quite wordy. Now I understand how to do Latvian braids, so to deliberately do one wrong was so hard. It was really hard. I had to concentrate so much. So it would be cool if I didn't have to do that again. Yeah. But if I do
No, we won't need to go that far down.
Well, that would be great. I'm
sure.
If you can save it above...
I'm fairly, relatively confident I can fix that for you.
So it's Crazy Zebra Ball, which is great fun. It's very sort of thick and thin, which I like, and the barber poling is great.
We did have an issue with a chunk of it unravelling, didn't we?
Yes.
I think the problem with these balls, they're very pretty, and you can start knitting straight from them. But what had happened with Dan was that a chunk of it had fallen off.
I'd rather have a ball like that.
Yeah, and it got tangled. So if I was going to use this personally, I would wind it into a cake.
Yeah.
Even though, you don't need to. It's already wound in this. I just, that was a bit of a disaster. It took us a good 5 minutes to untangle this mess.
Yeah.
And that could happen again,
Yeah.
So,
But, it's fun yarn to knit with.
Oh, it is.
Be great for socks.
Yeah, I've never used it for socks, actually. I've knit you a hat with Zao.
Does it have nylon?
Yes, it does.
Oh, wow.
It's got 25% nylon.
So
it's
it
only
would
a
be great for
2-ply, but it's got 25% nylon. But yeah, that's lovely. But you can see, for me, it's just a tiny bit too long. I could wear them easily, but they do fit Bryony really well. So
Yeah, and she's liking the knitted things that
Aren't
I've
they
been making,
lovely?
so
Yeah.
I'm much happier.
done a great job.
Ish. So
Better than I could have done, I think. To be
it's
honest.
the pieces of home.
Yeah.
It's great fun, and I shall now, with Kay's help.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I should. And I mean, maybe I need to try and get a DPN hold of it.
Well,
Can you get them?
I could make you one.
Oh no, but you'll do. We can't have you doing your back in.
I've got some sewing to do.
But
I've got to make Bryony a prom bag. Well, I haven't got to. I want to, and I'm going to. So I'm due to do some sewing tomorrow. So I'm sure I'll have time to whip you up a DP.
well, you need to
It's
do it
years since
last.
I've made
Well, you need to do it last and
I can't
address
remember how
you're.
to make one, but I'm sure I could figure it out. Well, I'll see if
fine.
I can. I'm sure I'll be able to find you one, an 8-inch one online.
That was a live disaster on the bakery. Oh my goodness!
We don't hide our disasters. Oh no.
What else is on your needles?
Well, I've picked up a project that I hadn't worked on for ages, and I was a little bit worried that it was just going to go in a corner and never be seen again. But
Not in that lovely bag.
I know, I love this bag. But no, I've had it out and I've been working on it. Yeah, and it's in my beautiful bag that I made. Do you remember? Out of my, whatever this material is, I can never remember. Thank you. It's silk taffeta. Costs about £1 million a metre. I just got a tiny bit to make a bag because I had an inkling that I really wanted to make a shiny, shiny bag, and it's just made such a beautiful bag. But in this bag is my cardigan.
Wow!
Do you remember?
Yes.
I'm knitting a cardigan that I've actually designed myself. Oh, what's happening here?
Oh no.
No, it's fine. I've put in some extra balls of yarn because I'm almost out of that.
Look at that! That's epic!
Yeah, I love that I don't have to wind these actually, and these work perfectly well. This is a different type of skein, isn't it? The way that this is wound to a Zauber ball.
Has it been done on Lostopina?
No, this has been done by a machine, hasn't it? But probably a machine on some kind of Nostopina, I would have thought, yeah.
That's so cool. I've never seen anything quite like that before.
Yeah, look at that colour. And that is absolutely true to colour. And I just think this colour on me, it's just so nice. So yeah, the yarn I'm using for my cardigan is BC Garn Samilla, gorgeous yarn. And this colour is burnt orange. I think it's a sport weight. I'm really not sure what it's sold as. It might be sold as a DK. It's not DK. You get 160 metres to 50 grams. So that's like 320 metres to 100 grams. I think that's bang on a sport weight, personally. And it recommends 3 to 4 millimetre. I think if you knit this on a 4 millimetre, you'd get quite a loose gauge. But yeah, I'm knitting it on 3.25 and it's working up perfectly. It's an organic 100% wool. I'm not sure what sort of wool, but it's perfectly soft. Gorgeous. Yeah, so I've picked this back up and I've been doing some work on it. Ooh, so if you remember, I designed this cardigan because I just wanted to knit a cardigan that would be good for kind of easily taking on and off if I'm sat knitting in the evening. Because I wanted to be not cropped, because I don't really do cropped, but just something that maybe sits around the waistline. I don't see that as being cropped, and maybe just below the waist. But anyway, not too long, so that I'm not sitting on it basically when I'm wearing it. And I thought I wanted to do this, I thought the only way I'm ever going to knit a garment and not hit that. I'm just so bored of knitting this, which is usually what happens with garments with me, is if I designed it myself, that I just felt that would motivate me to keep going, to see whether I could actually do it. I still don't know whether I can do it. I'm still sort of in that process. But also, if I designed it in such a way that made it really simple in terms of the kind of construction, so that it wasn't too fussy to knit. So what I decided in the end was I was going to knit it bottom up, because that's how I prefer to knit garments. It's bottom up. The fronts and the back are all in one piece. So that's worked up to the arms, the underarms, and then at that point, that's when you would then work one front and then the other front and then the back, and then they'd get joined. You'd just have one seam, I think, here, wouldn't you, on the shoulder. And then my plan is to actually pick up for the sleeves and knit down. And the sleeves, I'm just going to knit straight down and then do rapid decrease at the cuff. Because, again, simplicity, I don't have to think about sleeve decreases, which always bug me, having to track my sleeve decreases, because I just like, I just want to knit. I can't be bothered with all that business. Yeah, I know. It's stupid because I'll knit highly complicated socks and I'll do big blankets and, You
see, what's weird, right, is it would bore me senseless. I would be on Sleeve Island if there wasn't any decreases.
Yeah, however, this is why it's so interesting, isn't it? Because everyone's different. Yeah.
Or decreases.
Increases or decreases, yes, depending on how you approach the sleeves.
It's that brain power of having to remember where to put those increases decreases that keeps me engaged.
Yeah,
but we're all different.
We are all different.
That looks great.
I was at the point of that marker when I last showed you, and look, I've done all of that above. I've done about another 3 inches. Oh, and this colour. Gosh, isn't it just beautiful? And I put in a pattern. That was the other thing. I did think if it was just plain stocking stitch, again, I would just get bored. So I thought I'll put in just a simple pattern, because that I know from knitting socks, I knit socks quicker and I get more enjoyment out of them if they've got some kind of something going on in them, as opposed to just a plain vanilla something. So I came up with this lovely stitch pattern. It's just a very simple lace. You do get a lot of sort of rest rows in between, which is nice. But then you get to do a little bit of something.
It's funny, because it doesn't look like you get a lot of rest rows. It looks like
there is. It's
there's something going on. It's super.
Yeah, it's an 8-row repeat. And so you've got a lace row, rest row, lace row, and then 4 plain rows.
And you're just doing the sleeve straight.
I'm doing the plain. Yeah, I'm doing them.
I really like that.
Well, what I might do, just as a little detail, is at the cuff, before I do the rapid decrease, I might just do one lace.
I think that's brilliant. I think doing it plain is perfect.
Yeah.
That is exactly, it's going to look.
Well, the other advantage of doing the sleeves just straight down and then rapid decrease is because I don't have to worry about a pattern. If I'd done sleeves with this pattern on, I would have had to have fiddled with it, wouldn't I, when I did the decreases, and then you'd lose part of the pattern as you were doing the decreases.
The thing is, though, it would be too much.
I think it would be too much, because it's to have an all over. I think it would be pretty, but an all over lace and then an all over lace on the sleeves as well. I don't know. I just think having
that will draw the eye more with the sleeves being plain.
Yeah.
It'll be like it's being bordered or framed. Each side.
Yeah.
It'll look gorgeous.
And it means with the sleeves as well, because I won't be doing any decreases, I'll be able to knit them on either I'm not sure how many stitches it'll be, but at the very least it'll be a 12-inch circular, and I have knit on a 12-inch circular for sleeves before and managed that okay. I can't do the 9-inch sock ones at all. I've tried.
What about DPNs?
I've tried several times. I could do DPNs, but I just prefer not to have to change needles.
Yeah.
Just going round and round and round and round. And especially, I'll need to count my rows. I don't mind counting rows to make sure that I get both sleeves the same.
Going round and round on a circular, I'd be asleep in 2 rounds.
Well, that might happen.
I'd be gone.
Who knows, really?
So it's certainly relaxing.
This is a who knows, really, for the whole project, because I haven't touched this for weeks. And then recently I just thought, I fancy a little knit on that. And I think that's just how I'm approaching this project. I'm just going to pick it up when I fancy having a little knit on it. If I ever get to the end of it, then I'll have a cardigan.
Well, I
Who
think
knows?
looking at that, you need to, because I think it would be perfect for you.
I do too, and I just think the colour's so pretty.
You should be inspired by the finished.
That's what inspires me. I'm a product knitter.
Yeah.
If I was a process knitter, I'd have finished this by now, wouldn't I? Let's face it. I'm not a process knitter at all. I'm a product knitter. What happens with me is, right, I love designing things and I love trying out that design and getting it going to see if it will work. And this is why socks work so well for me, because it's a small project and I'll finish it relatively quickly and then I can move on to the next thing. Because, I'll design something, I'll be really excited about it, I want to try it, I want to knit it, I want to get on with it. But then once I know that it works, I've moved on to the next thing. So that's why I say socks are brilliant.
That's the overactive brain, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's infuriating because, I would love to just be enjoying the process. And I do enjoy the process, up to that point. Like I said, and once I know that it works and I'm happy with it and it's brilliant and I love it, I've achieved what I wanted to achieve. And then my brain's then thinking about the next thing I want to move on to. So maybe that is just the overactive brain, I don't know. Because like this now, all I want is just to get to the underarms because this works. I know that this works and it looks really nice.
How cool is it going to be when you see the sleeves appearing and it's all plain?
Yeah, I know. And what's motivating me is I've got to knit it to get to that next stage to then be excited again about the process. That's the other thing, I find it hard to pass... I don't use sample knitters, for example, because I just find it really hard to pass on that.
You want to make sure.
Of the process.
No. What it is you want to make sure that it is a pleasant and enjoyable process to knit.
Absolutely, and if I don't knit it, then I won't know that, will I?
No. And also, as well, you are very connected to your project.
Yeah.
And how could you be connected to a project if you haven't knit it?
If I haven't knit it, I've got to. As much as I say that my brain moves on quite quickly, I also have to balance that against really wanting to experience. You've
developed a process over the years.
Yeah.
And it's important that process
it absolutely
is
works.
upheld.
It absolutely works for everything because, generally speaking, apart from large blankets, all of my sort of designs are relatively small. I have done some bigger things, but it works for me because of the type of designer I suppose I am. Lots of waffle. So,
look, I haven't pulled any needles off this project, so this is a much more happy mitt.
It looks very happy to me. You've nearly finished those.
Yeah, I have. I've been really trying to. I tried to. Well,
you're like a knitting machine.
Well, that's going to bring me on to something. I've got to do the thumbs, of course, which I'm really looking forward to. I'm sure it's going to be a challenge for me because I've got such big hands. But anyway, only a few rounds to go, and this is obviously the third one, if you recall, because I knit two right ones, and no, I knit two left ones. Because this is the right mitt.
Yes, that's right.
Yes. I haven't made any mistakes on this. There's no mistakes. Third time lucky.
Yes.
On the first two, there were mistakes. Little things here and there that weren't quite right. Not completely happy with some of the floats actually on the back, but it's okay. These are the star mitts. And go ahead and show now.
I was trying to work out which one is the better of these two. So there's two mitts the same.
Look. I've come to a conclusion, and the conclusion is this. I'm going to knit another.
Oh, you're not? Why are you doing that? So there's two pairs?
And we can maybe...
We can give a pair to Christmas.
For my mum, maybe.
Oh, she would love that.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, do that.
Yeah, I know. But I might need...
Have you got enough yarn?
Probably not.
No, I think you have...
Well, so this is gorgeous yarn.
You've got some little leftovers there.
This is Blacker Swan DK.
It's beautiful, beautiful yarn.
And it's just been lovely, absolutely
Desert Island yarn, this.
This would make a great jumper.
Oh, fabulous.
But we weren't happy with the colours, was it?
No, the colours are gorgeous.
So why haven't I done a jumper in Blacker Swan?
Because, I don't know. It would be quite. It'd be quite expensive. It's not cheap.
I'd love to see how it would look. Actually, 192 stitches cast on.
This is DK though.
It's too thick.
I think no, it's too thick. It's not. Like your Let Lopi is more of an Aran gauge, isn't it? This is DK. It's quite a difference. It is DK, but I think it would knit to a worsted weight. I know people do knit it to a worsted gauge. So yeah, it's Black as Swan, Falkland Island Merino, and Dan's using Pale Maiden, which is the grey, and then Hawkweed, which
Here's my Pale Maiden.
Don't do none of that sun stuff.
No. Like Lady Mary. From Downton Abbey.
We haven't seen the new Downton film yet.
No, we agreed we're not talking about this.
Yeah, feel a bit weird about it.
Well, we're just not going to watch it.
Well...
No, because it'll ruin it. Well,
I think it... Yeah.
It'll ruin the rest of it.
I'm not keen on the storyline at the moment. I haven't seen it, obviously, but yeah.
No, I mean, it's idiotic.
Well... It just doesn't make sense to me.
I know.
Doesn't feel very Downton-y.
First husband dies in a car crash, finds a second husband, perfect, and now because he doesn't want to be in the film, we'll write him out and we'll bring in a new love interest. No.
I think that's the crux of it.
Sorry,
isn't it?
I'm not interested.
I don't agree with any of that.
And in the first film, we'll set it up so that... What's her name?
Well, at the end of the first... I don't think this is any spoilers, is it? It's been out for years, really. But yeah, at the end of the first film, the Downton Abbey film, it looked like one of the main characters was soon going to be passing away. And then she's in the trailers for the second one. But then I know what happens. I know what happens. And I just don't agree with the way that they're doing it. Do not agree with it at all.
No. So rather than let a film spoil...
True.
The enjoyment of everything that came before, because that tends to be what happens.
Yes.
The right decision is to just...
It's just not to watch it.
No.
And yeah, I wish I'd made that decision with Death on the Nile, but that's a whole other story.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's also a problem in the way that films are made at the moment. They tend to be made in a particular way which tries to please everyone, which in the end pleases no one. And so, it just makes... Stick with what you love. Don't...
Yes.
Sometimes it isn't good to go back.
Yes. Put Jaws on and everything's right with the world.
Yes.
Is my solution.
Do you know what? That film... Every time... We watched a bit of that film yesterday.
We did at lunchtime,
every time I watch that film, the thing that absolutely blows my mind about it is the way that it's filmed.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
The camera positioning. The next time you watch it, just pay attention to what Steven Spielberg is doing with the camera positioning, because you would never do what he does. You would never be that creative in what is an unbelievably plain and simple shot. There's one shot where Chief Brody comes out of the police station and he's on his way up, and that's when he's seeing the kids marching past. It's very early on in the film when he's looking for the close the beach signs.
Yes.
And Steven Spielberg sets the camera quite a distance back down the road.
Yeah.
He comes out, starts walking. The camera goes with him a bit. Then he walks past. The camera spins round and off he goes.
Yeah.
And it's so beautifully framed. I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Everything about that film is tremendous.
It's a perfect film for me.
And we noticed something in that film, and I would be virtually certain that this is true. There is a point in that film where Quint and... what's Richard Dreyfuss's character called?
Matt Hooper.
Matt Hooper, yes. Where Quint and Matt Hooper are fixing the boat.
Yeah.
And they're sticking their hands up and passing tools to each other. And it is exactly the same as when Chewbacca and Han Solo are in the Millennium Falcon fixing the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
They were best buddies, weren't they, George Lucas, or still are, George Lucas and Steven Spielberg. So that has to be a homage to Jaws.
Yeah,
brilliant.
yeah.
Anyway.
There we go. We've put the movie world to rights.
You sounded like Jane McDonald then.
Oh, we love her. We love Jane.
So this is going to be finished within the next day or so, I would guess, and then it's just time to knit the thumbs. Oh. And how long will it take me to knit the thumbs, do you think?
I don't know. I've never knitted colourwork thumbs.
Right.
I mean, for me, a thumb wouldn't take very long at all, but colourwork thumbs, I don't know.
We shall wait and see.
Yes.
What else is on your needles?
Right, well, the last thing I've been working on is something that seems to be taking me forever. So I've come up with a plan. I have a plan.
I'm ripping his hair.
No. So these are Dan's latest pair of socks. And I'm using moustache yarn for these. And it's one of the Star Wars colourways. And it's called Defender of the Home Tree, which is Yoda. We can't really, call it that officially, but that's what it's influenced by or inspired by. So Defender of the Home Tree, aka Yoda. You get two 50-gram balls, so I'm actually knitting both socks at the same time. And I thought, this is genius. I'll have these knit in no time. No, clearly that is not the case. And I keep getting mixed up with my 2 balls of yarn in the bag. I need to come up with some solution for having 2 socks in the same bag at the same time, because it's just getting a tangled mess. So my brilliant solution for getting these knit on is I'm tackling it like a sort of work project, if you like. No, that's the wrong way of saying it. I'm breaking it down, and because I'll go back a little bit, because I think on the last show I explained how me working that timed sock that I'm working on and doing it in hour chunks, really focused, was working brilliantly for me. That's the approach I'm taking with these socks. So I'm setting time aside. I'm, setting an hour, no more than an hour. That's kind of the limit of my concentration in terms of when it's a project I just want to get done. So I'm setting aside an hour, focus knitting, concentrating on it, not getting distracted, and I'm working on it. And that is working really well. So I'm at the stage now where I've turned both of the heels and the heel turn, and I'm on the foot. I've done the gusset decreases, and I'm on the foot of each sock. And look, I've got one's a little bit further ahead than the other, but you can see I've got the heels in there. Oh, it's really lovely, this yarn, isn't it? It's really fun. Does it look like Yoda? Yeah, I suppose. I think the green here is his lightsaber.
Well, he's also green.
Yeah, this sort of mingly bit is like him, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
And this is this lightsabery going on. So yeah, I'm on the foot now of each of them. And what I'm doing is, you can see if I show you one of them here, I've put in a couple of little progress keepers. So this pink one here, this is 50 rounds. So from after the cuff here, up to here, this is 50 rounds. And then I'm going to mark every 10 rounds after that, because I know how many rounds I've got to complete to get to the toe. So each time I've completed 10, so I've done 10 on that one, I'll then go to the other one and do 10 on that one, and keep alternating it like that until I get to the toes, and then I'll just do the toes, and then we'll have 2 finished socks. So this has been working really well. I've got through. I think the challenge for me, for whatever reason, was just getting through the heels and the turns, and I was like, oh. But now I'm through them, and I'm on the foot. Actually, I'm finding it just great. I can whip around 10 rounds quite quickly. And then I move on to the other one. I put my clippy marker on. It's kind of like, crossing off things on a list, which I do. That's how I work for everything. I make lists and I cross things off. And I find that really, really effective and really satisfying. So for me, adding a progress keeper is like crossing something off. I've crossed off that 10 rounds. Crossed it off until I get to the top, and it's making it go much quicker. Because if you break it down like that, either working it in chunks of time, so half an hour if you've not got an hour, 15 minutes if you haven't got half an hour, or alternatively you could just say, right, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to do my 10 rounds, and when I've done that I can put it down and move on to something else. So that's how I'm working it, and I want to get these done for the next show. There's no reason on the earth why I cannot get these done for the next show. And then Dan will have a lovely pair of shorty socks for the summer.
Cool.
So they're just, really short, lovely shorty socks. And the yarn's great, and I've put in a brown heel, which is not exactly the same brown, but I think it's close enough.
I think there's a lot to be said for focused work, because
Absolutely.
this is
the key for me.
It's when things aren't focused that things tend to lag and drag.
Yeah, because you get distracted and you don't achieve anything.
Yeah.
I find that if I'm not you've got to make sure that nothing is going to distract you for that hour, albeit you can't stop everything, can you? But as much as you possibly can, just cut out distractions. So move your phone, move your iPad, make sure you're not expecting any deliveries, all of that, and just focus. And I think it's amazing how much you can actually achieve when you get into that zone of just focused work. It's brilliant. It's really worth just trying that. And I think it will make you realise days are short and everybody is busy and everybody leads busy lives. But I think if you break your day down and really focus on each task in hand, do that task, move on to the next, do that task, move on to the next, instead of just, I'll go and do that for 10 minutes and then I'll do that and then I'll do that.
You've got to have a plan.
You've got to have a plan.
If you don't have a plan, if you just
you've got to have a plan.
Whatever, yeah.
Yeah, so the crux to all of the way, my home life, my working life, my everything life is using my planner and making lists, and I break it down to home and work and then anything else.
What I've tended to find through my life is that the people who say, I don't have time for that, aren't organised.
Maybe it is a bit of that,
It comes down to, first of all, what is it you really find important?
Yeah.
And, do you have an ounce of organisational skill?
Everybody does. Everybody can. You've just got to put your mind to it.
Yeah, and not just get up and walk out the door and expect the day to happen around you.
And, quite often it can be something as simple as thinking, right, okay, instead of putting my alarm on snooze and staying in bed another half hour, I'm going to get up as soon as, as soon as I wake up in the morning, I get up. And that could be 5 o'clock, it could be 5:30, it could be 5:45 if I'm lucky. But literally, as soon as I wake up, I get up. And I think that's just a brilliant thing to just try and do. I know it can be difficult if you're not a morning person, but just having even that extra bit of time, 15-20 minutes in the morning, I think it's amazing really how you can then prepare yourself for the rest of the day, and it can really set you up in the right way. Yeah. That's what I find anyway.
Yeah, definitely. No, I agree.
Yeah.
They're looking gorgeous though.
I'm
seeing double.
These are going to be done for next time, because I've got another one that I really want to knit.
Socks?
Yes, and it's another moustache. Right, okay. There's another moustache yarn behind there somewhere that's the Han Solo colourway.
Oh, cool.
And it's like navy blue and red and like a pale beige, I think. But the reason I want to knit those is because it looks like the Jubilee colours.
Right.
It looks like the Queen's Jubilee, which is coming up. So
yes,
I will find that yarn, because that's my motivation now. I need to complete these so that I can start another pair.
Cool.
Yes.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, 2 years ago, about 2 years ago.
2 years ago?
Kay started the My Favourite Colourways series. And I think it's fair to say that through that series, you've held back some of the ones.
Yes.
Yes. We haven't spoken about this. I was assuming this. I assumed correctly.
Not deliberately,
no.
but
these are personal things that took you a long time.
It took me a while to come round to whether I wanted to share certain recipes with everyone, because they felt like my little babies. Then,
well, it's so exciting that in today's show, the moment has come for one of those absolute classic colourways.
Yes.
In fact, two of those absolute classic colourways.
Yeah.
Because yes, today is the day when Kay's going to share with you the secrets of Sirius and Hogwarts at Dusk.
Yeah.
This is going to be quite a show.
Yes.
It's time for My Favourite Colourways.
Over the last 7 years, I have created hundreds of gorgeous colourways. Hidden away in my library is the little book that contains nearly all my secrets. These are the recipes for creating all of my colourways, and in this series I'll be showing you some of my absolute favourites. I'll be taking you from undyed skein to finished colourway, because it's time for us to discover Welcome everyone to another My Favourite Colourways. I'm really excited today because I took some time actually deciding on the colour that we're going to dye up today, and I realised that sort of the colours that I've been dyeing up most recently, it's kind of been new creations that I've done for various reasons and that I've shared with you. But this time I thought it would be fun to go back in the catalogue of colours that I've dyed and choose one that when I was actually selling my yarn, this one was always really popular and sold out really quickly. I say that as if I dyed up like 100 colours. I never did that. I was very much a small batch dyer. But this one, when I dyed it, it did always sell really quickly. And it's one of my favourites. It's one of Bryony's favourites. And I've actually got a pair of socks that I knitted quite a few years ago in the exact shades we're going to be dyeing today. So I will show you those later just to see how they've fared. They're very well worn, but they still look pretty good. The colour that I'm going to be dyeing today is actually one of my Harry Potter colourways. So if you were one of the people out there that actually bought some of my Harry Potter colourways, then you could well have knitted with this, or maybe you've got one still tucked away in your stash, you never know. Now, I haven't dyed this for a good few years, and I did write it down really well in my recipe book, so fingers crossed I can create it as it should look. But you know, this is part of the fun, isn't it? We shall see how it comes out. Now, the colour that I'm going to be dyeing today is Sirius. Now, Sirius, I think, he's a much loved character. Certainly Bryony loves Sirius, and I know that he starts off being kind of like quite a scary, unpleasant sort of character, but actually I think he turns out to be, I always sort of really liked Sirius. I thought he was a nice fella. Listen to me talking about these characters as if they're real, but they do feel real, don't they, if you're a fan. And then when I dyed up Sirius, I also paired it with a tonal with a few little speckles mini, and that was Hogwarts at Dusk. So we are going to be dyeing that one as well as a mini skein, just to go with the full skein of Sirius. Now, the colours that are in Sirius, I remember actually why I chose these colours, and I just remembered what he looked like when we first saw him. Do you know that image of him looking really scruffy, and he'd been in prison for years, hadn't he, and his clothes were torn and he just looked really bedraggled, and it was that I had in my mind when I chose the colours. And although when I sort of thought about the colours, you know, they're not exactly, you know, bright, fun, happy colours, but actually it produces a really pretty yarn, and it, you know, it is one of my favourites thinking back, and I loved knitting the socks that I'll show you later. And it'll be great to have some more of this colourway because I don't have any in my stash. I've not had any in my stash for many years, so I'll very much enjoy having some of this back in my stash. So that's what we're going to be dyeing today. Lovely Sirius and a coordinating mini. So I guess what we've got to do now is have a look at what we are going to need. Okay, so what we're going to need to dye up our lovely yarn today. The usual suspects. So first of all, we've got our yarn, and I've got a few yarns today actually. What I'm going to be doing is I've got two 100-gram skeins of fingering weight yarn. This is an 85-15, so 85% superwash merino, 15 nylon. It's a really lovely plump base. It's the one I've been using most recently. I think you get 400 meters on a skein. So I've got 2 of those, and we're going to be dyeing those in the pot together. So 2 skeins in the pot, because that's how I always dyed Sirius, with 2 in a pot. But what I'm also going to be doing is I'm going to sneak in a couple of minis as well into the same pot. So here I've got 2 20-gram mini skeins, and these actually have sparkle in, but that'll be fine. You know, I'm not worried. They're not going to be in the water, the soaking water, too long, because normally when it's a sparkle yarn I don't pre-soak it with citric acid because that can dull the sparkle. But I am going to put some citric acid in this one, and I just won't keep the yarn in there too long, and it'll be fine. So we're going to do 2 100-gram skeins and then 2 extra little treat minis for me in the same pot. What will probably happen is, because the minis are so different in terms of bulk, if you like, it might be that these don't quite dye up the same as the main ones. We'll just see how they come out. If it ends up being sort of little delicate speckles on the minis, that's absolutely fine. I don't mind at all. But I just wanted a couple of minis. And then I've got 2 more minis here that we are going to dye up with our coordinating colour, and they've got sparkle again. So that's our yarn. I've then got my dye book. Of course, I need my dye book. I've got a mask. I've got a nice brand new mask this time. I always use the 3M masks. If you're curious, I just get these online, really cheap and very good. It's the Aura 9322, the 3M. It's the one with the filter on the front. I've then got 2 dye pots here. As always, it's my stainless steel dye pots that I use specifically for dyeing. Don't use them for anything else. I've then got my plastic bowl here, which is for soaking and rinsing. Some old tea towels. We've got our citric acid, which is our mordant. The mordant is the thing that makes the dye permanently stick to the yarn. And then today we're going to be speckling. So I've got some brushes. These are just cheap pound shop children's brushes. You know, don't spend a lot of money on your brushes for your speckling. It's just not worth it. These work perfectly well. So I've got a few brushes for our speckling. And then, yeah, that just leaves us with the dyes. There's just 3 colours today, nice and simple. And I do find that very often simple, you know, is the most effective. Because you'll probably find sometimes as well that colours break into different colours. So you end up with other colours going on in there as well. So we've just got 3. Now, I've got a mixture of brands here. I've got 1 jacquard, and that's jet black. Nice and simple. Blacks can be very different actually. And I do have another black, which is by Landscape, which is the other brand I'm going to be using. And I thought, should I use the Landscape black so that they're all landscape dyes? But I decided not to, because it could well end up looking different. And I thought, no, I'm going to stick with the black that I've always used, and that's the jacquard jet black. I've then got 2 of the Landscape dyes. So Landscapes are an Australian brand. I love these dyes. You can get them in this country. I purchased them in this country. They're much more expensive, I find, than the jacquard, but really worth it. The colour palette is just gorgeous. They've got some really beautiful shades, and I really like the formula. It's much more of a granular. Don't know if you can hear that. Very much more of a granular formulation, and that's brilliant for speckling. It's just great. It doesn't clump like some dyes can. We're going to have to be quite careful with the black, but with the Landscape, it's a much more sort of safe dye, I think, for speckling. So the 2 shades I've got with that are Lichen. Now Lichen is, as it sounds, it's that kind of green that's got quite a lot of yellow in it. Really pretty. And then we've got Dusk. Now Dusk is one of my absolute favourite shades from Landscapes. It's this, you can see it's on the pot here. It's like a really beautiful dusky purple, lavenderish dusky purple. It's gorgeous. It's a really beautiful colour. The three shades here, I've got black, I've got green, and I've got purple, essentially. And when I was thinking of Sirius, those were the colours that I just thought of. You know, black because he looks all grubby, and his sort of prison uniform had black stripes on it, didn't it? And then green and purple because he's kind of all bruised. So it sounds a bit grim, really, the mixture of colours, but actually, when you see it on the yarn, it's really, really pretty. So that's the three shades we're going to be using. If you can't find these brands, then just use whatever compatible shade you can find. I've never really been able to find colours that really match the Dusk and the Lichen in anything other than landscape dyes, but I'm sure you could find something that's sort of similar in other brands if you couldn't get access to this one. So there we go, that's everything we're going to be needing. So the first thing we've got to do is to pre-soak our yarn. Okay, so I've got a bowl of tap warm water, just warm water from the tap, and I've put in a couple of scoops of the citric acid because we've got quite a bit of yarn here this time, so I've used a couple of scoops. I think a scoop is about a tablespoon. So I'm just going to pop all of that yarn in there and give it a little push down. Rubber gloves was the other thing I didn't mention. Actually, I've got my rubber gloves as usual. So just push that down and give that a little soak. I'll just leave it for maybe 20 minutes, half an hour, probably more like 20 minutes because I've got that sparkle yarn in there, so I don't want to leave it in too long. So whilst that's having a nice little soak there, I will get everything ready over on the stove. Okay, so in my pot here, it's about halfway full, and I've added some more citric acid into there, another scoop into the actual dye water, and this has now just been heating. It's just started to steam nicely. So I'm going to go over and grab my yarn. So I'm going to get 2 minis and then the 2 full skeins. So two full skeins and then 2 minis. There we go. Oh, it's heavy. One thing about dyeing, you know, you really do have to be physically fit. If it's something that you do on a regular basis, I've got every admiration for people, honestly, that do it regularly, because you do really have to be really fit, especially in your arms, you know, because all this lifting. There we go. So we've got 2 full skeins and 2 minis. So let's get those in. So into the water, and as they go in, I'm just sort of moving them all around so that each of the skein has got a good amount of exposure to the surface. We have got quite a lot of yarn in here for the size of the pot, really. I wouldn't, generally speaking, I wouldn't put minis as well in here, but I want a couple of extra minis for me. I'm being greedy. So we're going to do it, and let's just see what happens. And as always, I've got these on the removable cable ties for ease of moving around in the pot. Now we just want that to come to the point where it starts to bubble a little bit. I want the surface of the water here. Yeah, I mean, that is nice and hot now, but I'm just going to give it another 30 seconds maybe. Because if you get that water temperature at that really nice hot point without it boiling, then the dye is going to set much quicker, and that's what we want here because we're speckling. So we don't want it sort of lingering around in the water. We want it to sort of quickly go onto the yarn. You can see that's starting to bubble now, that. So I'm just going to turn it down just to its minimum, just to keep it at that nice hot point. And we're going to speckle in our first colour. Now we're starting with black. So that's our Jacquard Jet Black. We're going to use a paintbrush to speckle. So I'm going to pop my mask on and we're going to speckle some in. So I like to, when I'm speckling, I like everything to sort of be close to what I'm working on, so that I'm not having the dye sort of drifting around in the air too much. So just pop some on your brush, and then I always tap it off to make sure I don't want sort of, it doesn't matter if it does clump a little bit, but we're speckling, so we want it to sort of be nicely distributed. And I'm just going to move over the yarn speckling that black on. You can see it drops on. You can see it really easily when it's black. Some colours are quite difficult to see when you drop them on, but black, luckily, is a colour we can see. I do find that this jet black, you can see the colours that are in it. Can you see there? There's a bit of sort of pinky red. When it first goes on, it looks a little bit brown. And that would make sense if you're seeing that sort of brownish shade. And it probably will look slightly different on the sparkle on this one, because the sparkle has a sort of greyish tone because of the stellina in there. I don't want to go too much, but we do want to get that all over look. Now we need to just leave it alone. Don't touch it, just leave it alone and let it set. It shouldn't take too long at all because that water is nice and hot. And what you'll find is that some areas that are like this bit of yarn here, it's well above the water. So the speckles have hit the yarn directly without going into the water, whereas sort of over here you've got some swimming around in the water. So that will give you different looks. You'll get lots of little speckles, but then you will also get some areas which are a bit more sort of watery looking, you know, a bit more blendy. So I'm just going to leave that for a minute or two to set, and then we're going to move it and repeat. Okay, that's just had literally a minute or two and it's nicely set. Don't worry if there's a little bit of sort of dye floating around, because all that will happen is you'll get a sort of greyish hue to certain areas, which this colourway does generally have a sort of grey tone to it, so that's perfectly fine. It's very odd actually, because I mean, I can see the grey tones coming over it, but it does also look like dark brown at the moment. Maybe it's the light, but whatever, we're going to get a really lovely dark colour. Now you can see as I lift it up, a lot of areas have just got nothing on. But then certain areas, what we want is we want the whole yarn to look like this. So that's why we need to move it. So I'm just going to grab each skein and move it on the skein. I'm going anything from sort of a third to a halfway down. Same with the mini. And then because I've got quite a lot of yarn in here, you might find that sometimes you get a bit of a tangle. Those two minis, look, have tangled together. So let me just drop that down, and we need to sort that out because we don't want that just tangled together. That's that sorted. Right. So now I just need to drop that back down. Oh, it's really nice. It's amazing actually how lovely just using black to speckle can look, because there's never just black in there, there's lots of shades in there, and if you're lucky you'll get it breaking into lots of different colours. There we go. And we're just going to repeat that. Now I'm going to do the same colour, I'm going to do black again, and then I'm going to move it one more time after that and do black again, because we do want to make sure that we're covering the whole skein with those black speckles. So I will put the black on a total of 3 times, moving it in between. So that's the second layer of black speckles gone in. So again, I'll just leave that for a couple of minutes to set. And the way I check that it's set is I just get my big spoon, and if you just sort of push down on the speckles, you'll be able to tell if it's set. So I'm going to leave that for a couple of minutes, check it's set, and then I'll move it again and repeat with the black speckling. Okay, so that's all of our black layers in. So it's time to move it again now and then start with the colours. Now the 2 colours I'm going to be using, the purple and the green, they're more of a kind of highlight in this. So I don't need to put it on in as many layers as I did for the black. So that's the black all done, and it looks lovely actually. You can see the speckles are just so pretty, and then you get areas of sort of grey coming through where it's blended through the yarn. So let's give it a little move around, and then we can do the next colour, which is the Dusk. Right, and then drop those back in, giving it a good mingle around. There we go. And you can see, oh, it looks lovely. It's just such an, you know, I'd be happy with yarn that looked like that, to be honest, with the grey and the speckles. It's really pretty. Right, so mask on, and the next one is the Dusk. So this landscape dye, as I've said before, it's much more granular, and you can be more liberal with this and not be so worried about what's going to happen, which is why I like it for speckling. You can't really tell what the colour is here in the pot at the moment. It just looks like a dark colour, but can you see it's like little grains? Looks a bit like sherbet. So just grab some like this on your brush, and it's the same thing really, but it's heavier because it's this sort of granular formula. It's heavier, and you know, you can just be more free and easy, if you like, with it. Don't worry so much. And can you see how it just distributes so lovely? It doesn't, I don't find it clumps. It just goes on so nice. So just all over again. And I will move this just probably once. So I'll do 2 layers of the purple and the same with the green. So I'm just going to do the same thing, just leave that to set for a couple of minutes, and then we'll just move it once and do another layer. Okay, so that's had the 2 layers of the Dusk. So now we're going to just do exactly the same thing with the lichen. So I'm just going to move that. There is a bit of residual purple in the pot there, that's fine. It just absorbs into the yarn and just helps give an overall shade to, you know, like a background shade to the yarn. Sometimes when you see yarns, you might think that it's been dyed initially with a colour and then speckled on top, but I always find quite often that's not the case, that when you're actually speckling, what will happen is just the process of doing that will give you that background colour. In this case, it's like a sort of greyish, purplish shade. Lovely. So now it's time to start with the lichen. So that's the first layer of the lichen in the pot, and you can see initially it does look very yellow because it is a very yellowish green, but as that soaks in you're going to get those greenish shades as well, but it is a very yellowish green. So I'm just going to leave that lichen shade to set for a couple of minutes, and then I'll be doing just the last layer of colour, which is another layer of the lichen. Okay, so that's all of the dye colours in now. So what I'm going to do is I will just raise the temperature on the pan, and then once it starts to kind of bubble, I don't like to boil it, but once it starts to bubble, I will then turn off the heat, and then we can pop it outside to cool down. So there we go. That's our fantastic Sirius colourway, all dyed up and cooling. So come back in part 2 when we're going to get into the coordinating mini. It's really, really pretty, this colourway, and you might in fact want to dye up a whole skein of this and knit yourself something lovely. So I will see you back in part 2 when we're going to be dyeing up that mini.
Do you know what I love about that process? It's the way the colours sort of run a bit and give that background hue. That's just amazing. You really can't beat. I mean, properly speckled through the whole skein.
Yes.
You know, uniform.
Well, as much as you can.
Yeah. But when you get it right, it is like, it's for me, it's sort of unbeatable.
Oh, fabulous, yeah. And I have actually knit it up into my second wrist tickler, so I'm going to show you that when you've seen the second half.
And also, you're going to show the gorgeous socks. The prairie socks.
Yes.
How exciting is that?
You'll see a pair of socks that I knit in Sirius, some years ago.
That purpley colour.
Oh, it's a beautiful...
Because you wouldn't think that Hogwarts at Dusk came out of the Sirius.
Yeah.
But there it is within the Sirius. It's so gorgeous. That is all to come in part 2. And to get to part 2, I have to ask, Kay Jones, what's off your needles?
Right, I've got a bit of an eclectic mix today.
Always.
Now, the first thing I've not got here to show you, and I haven't got it because Bryony has got it with her at school. And she's just started her GCSEs this week, so she's in that sort of zone currently, and they go on for quite some time. And I wanted to make her a little something just as a good look sort of charm. So I made her a little miniature, little kindness monster.
Miniature?
I think it's so cute. It sits sort of like this in my hand. There's a picture of it actually with it on my hand, so you'll be able to see for reference how big it is. And I just knit it in fingering weight yarn. I let Bryony choose the colours. So the pink for the hat is some yarn I dyed, and then the main body colour was leftovers from Legacy Fibre Arts. It was their Griswold's colour that I've used for some socks back in sort of November time. So yeah, I made her a little kindness monster as a good luck charm, and I told her when I was knitting it, I told her that I'd knit all of the confidence into it, and all she had to do when she was just about to take her exam is put a hand in her pocket and give it a little smoosh, and that will release all the confidence into her hands and she'll be away. And it was so sweet because when she had her first exam, she texted me after and she said, it went really well, you know, it was all good, and I only had to smoosh Willow once. She called her Willow, and I thought, that's so nice. I just thought, that's great. So every day she's taking her in her pocket. I just wanted to do something little that she could pop in her pocket. And, you know, because they can't take anything in with them, obviously, for exams, you know, no pencil cases or anything like that. But, you know, she can just pop it in a little top pocket of a blazer. So, yeah, that's the first thing that I finished.
Gorgeous. So that's 3 of those you've done.
I know. Not doing any more.
No.
Yeah, and then the second thing, I've shown you this before, but the pattern is coming out very soon. This is my Pixie Dust cowl.
Wow.
And this design is a patron design, a platinum design that will be going out to patrons on the 1st of June.
So it's the 3rd pattern in the 2022 Platinum Collection.
Yes.
It's very exciting.
Oh, it's lovely. I love it. I can't wait to be able to wear this. It's obviously a little bit warm these days now.
Yeah.
But it's just so lovely. So I used an advent calendar of yarns from Pixie Yarns.
Right.
Hence Pixie Dust Cowl. And yeah, this design will be going out to gold and platinum patrons on the 1st of June. So you can all use it if you want to for Christmas in July, which we'll talk about a bit later. Or you can just wait until Christmas if you want to, or start one straight away.
That's so cool.
Yep.
Perfect.
And then the last thing is I've finished, this is also referencing Christmas in July, but I finished...
They don't look festive though.
You don't think these look festive? They're supposed to.
But no, I mean that in a positive way. It's not a festive looking thing you could only wear at Christmas, Kay.
That's true.
And I think it's wrong.
That's true.
It's wrong to say something is festive when it isn't, because if you plant that sort of image in people's minds, then they'll think, I can only wear those at Christmas.
No, I think you could wear these any time. You could wear those
any day you wanted.
Yeah, these are my Tinsel Socks that I designed, and I've used colours that I see as sort of traditionally festive, reds and greens and silver. I designed these with a 5 skein mini set in my mind, so you don't have to use festive colours at all, but I do this sweet little thing on the colour change that looks like little tinsel strands.
It's amazing. I love that.
And it makes it go really quickly, actually, because you just want to quickly knit through and get to the next little colour change to do the next one.
Do you know what it also looks like a little bit too? It sort of looks a bit like bunting.
It does look a bit like bunting, that's true, yeah. So you could make these in pinks and purples and blues, and it could be summer bunting, couldn't it?
Looks like bunting love.
Bunting love. Little Bob the Builder reference there.
And that is from Bob's Christmas.
Bob's Christmas.
That's Noddy Holder talking to...
Oh, Bob's Christmas, one of the best Christmas films ever.
And we didn't watch it last Christmas.
We didn't watch it last Christmas, no.
There's so many great actors and actresses in it.
It's brilliant, and I think these sorts of things are probably missed by a lot of people because they deem them as for young children.
Bunty is from Pride and Prejudice,
yeah,
isn't she?
Yeah. It's Alison Steadman.
Yeah, and she's so brilliant in that film.
Brilliant. It's
in
one
Bob
of the
the
best.
Builder, I'm saying here now.
This is Bob's Christmas. Is it Bob's White Christmas? It might be called Bob the Builder. You probably think we're bonkers, but honestly, put it on.
Watch it at Christmas.
Whether you've got a 5-year-old in the room or whether it's just you and you're 105,
yes.
I'm telling you, you will love it. It's fun. So yeah, Tinsel Socks are complete.
Elton John's in it.
Obviously we love this film, don't we? I feel like on what is an incredibly sunny and horribly summery day that I should just go and watch Bob's White Christmas.
Yeah,
and that'll
chilly.
cheer me up no end.
Yes.
Or we can knit some tinsel socks and pretend that it's December.
Yes.
Which is what we can all do in July. When, we're going to be running a Christmas in July knit along for everyone. So
we did say that last show, didn't we?
We did.
Yes.
We did.
Yes.
So we'll talk more about that as we get closer to July. But we're not a million miles off it, really, are we?
It's our big Summer of Stitching Universal Knit Along.
Yes. So these socks are complete. I have written the pattern. I need to take the photos, but to do that, Dan needs to go in the loft and get me some tinsel.
Oh, exciting.
So I'll be doing that these coming few days, and then I'll ask for a couple of test knitters and I'll get these through test knitting, and then these will be ready to be released, towards the end of June. So if you wanted to knit up some tinsel socks or some summery tinsel socks if you wanted to, then you can do that. But you'll need 5 20-gram minis. If you're knitting the size large, actually, there's always 3 sizes in my patterns. If you're doing the 72 stitch, which is the size large, you will probably need a bit more than 20 grams for the cuff, heel and toes. But the other 2 sizes, you'll be absolutely fine with 20 grams.
Perfect.
So and I've got another set of these colours, which I showed you last time, that are going to be the prize for the knit along.
Great. What a great prize.
Yes, I hope so.
Yes.
I hope so.
Right. I want to see how Kay's going to dye up this contrasting mini, because I think it looks tremendous. So let's get back to my favourite colourways and find out how we create Hogwarts at Dusk.
Welcome back everybody to part 2 of my favourite colourways, where we are dyeing up Sirius and we are dyeing up Hogwarts at Dusk. So Sirius is all done and in the pot and just waiting for us to rinse. But before we do that, we are going to dye up the coordinating mini, which is very exciting. So let's get right on with that. We are here now to dye up our 2 little minis. So I've just got 2 20-gram minis. So all I've got in here is just very little water, really. I don't need very much for those 2 little minis. And then I've put in a bit more citric acid into there too, and it's just heating up. So the first thing I'm going to do, what we're going to do with this mini, we're using the Dusk colourway, and we're just using that one colourway. But we're going to, first of all, we're going to give it an overall tonal colour, and then we're going to put some speckles on top. So we're going to get some darker speckles on top of like a more lighter sort of dusky colour. Into my pot here that's heating up, I'm just going to put in, let's try, it's a while since I've done this and I've never done just 2 minis, so I'm just going to put in 1/8 of the Dusk, and let's see what that does. Yeah, we'll put the minis in there and see how that looks first of all, because we don't want it too dark, because we're going to speckle on top, and that will also add to the overall shade as well. I'm going to grab my 2 minis over here. I'm going to squidge, give them a little shake, and then drop them in and just push them with the spoon. And we'll see what shade we get here. It might be that we want some more dye in before we speckle. Let's just move those. You can see the shade here that you get with this dye as well. It's so pretty. And you really can, you know, if you just want a really pale colour, you can just do what I've done there and just add a little bit. Or you can get more of an intense, deep dusky purple using more. I am going to put a bit more in actually, because I do want an overall shade that is just a tad darker than that. But isn't it just such a pretty shade of lavendery sort of purple? So all I'm going to do to add in a bit more is lift the yarn up and just dump in another 1/8 of a teaspoon there. Give that a little mix around, and then I can drop the yarn back in. It's not very heavy this, because I've only got a couple of minis. And then just drop it back in. And that's going to be a better overall shade. Yes, that is good. And it will literally take seconds to absorb that colour, because there wasn't a lot in there. So you can see now we've got a really pretty overall lavenderish shade, and really no dye in the pot there at all. So what we're going to do now is just do some speckles on top of that. So I'm just going to drop those 2 back in and give them a nice move around. We've got plenty of space now because we've only got 2 minis in here. Now I could take out some of that water, but I'm going to leave in what I've got there. There's really not a lot, and some of the yarn is poking above, but I'm not looking for necessarily really defined speckles here. I just want areas that have got darker shades than others. So I'm happy to leave the yarn sort of just under the surface, and then I'm going to get my brush and just go over that surface and speckle some more colour in. And this just adds a bit more interest to your coordinating mini, I think, rather than it just being a plain tonal. So I'll leave that to set just for a minute like we did before, and then I'll turn it and just do that once more. So that's our yarn now dyed, our coordinating mini all dyed. I'm just going to bring up the temperature like I did before with the full skeins, and once that's bubbling, it's just about there now, I'm going to pop that outside to cool down with the others. Okay, so our yarn has cooled down now, so we just need to give it a rinse. So I've got some just gentle wool wash in my bowl with some warm water. So I'm going to do all of these first, and then we'll just dump the minis in the water afterwards. So in it goes. Oh, it looks really good. I'm pleased, which is good. You know, when you've not done something for a long time, you know, creatively, it's always a bit of a worry, isn't it, that it's going to turn out the same, but it looks good. So I'm just giving it a nice sort of swim around in the water, just to get rid of all of that citric acid, and also just to get rid of any tiny dye particles that might have still been floating around. The water's lovely and clear, so that's good. We know that our colours have set really beautifully. Speckles are just gorgeous. I hope you can see all the beautiful speckles. It's lovely. So that should be fine. Squidge. So the 2 minis are somewhere within that group of yarns. So let's pop that there. and I might just change the water actually, because that was a lot of yarn there. These kind of remind me a little bit of Parma violets. You know, those little sweets that everybody hated when we were younger. I mean, did anybody like Parma violets? There must be somebody out there, I guess, but they were entirely odd. Or are, I think you can still get them. So same thing with that, just give it a nice little rinse. And again, the water's lovely and clear, you can see it running off clear there. And actually today is quite a breezy day and fairly mild, so I'm going to keep an eye on the weather because there are some clouds up there, but I'm going to pop it on the line and see if we can get it to dry on the line today, which is exciting. It's really lovely. There's just one dye colour. It's just so nice. Again, we've got loads of lovely speckles in there. Really, really pretty. And together, I think they just look gorgeous. So I'm now just going to pop those outside on the line to hopefully dry off. Okay, so our beautiful yarn is now all fluffy and dry, and it's time to skein it up. So what I've got here then, I've got my two main skeins. Main skeins, that rhymes. And then I've got the two contrasting and then the two extra minis that I threw into the pot. So it'll be interesting. I mean, they look pretty good actually in terms of, you know, the amount of dye they've got on. So let's do one of the full skeins first. So here we go. So we need to, as I always do, just need to remove the cable tie. And then the first thing I do is just kind of tidy it up a little bit, because when it's in the dye pot it can get, you know, all of the strands can become a bit muddled. So I just like to even everything up. And now, how many ties have I got? 1, 2, 3, there's 4 ties on this. So I identify the tie that's actually holding the yarn together, which is that one there. So I'm just going to keep that one at the top, and then I'll just have one at the bottom, and then I'm going to snip the other two that are there in the middle. So it's those middle two here. So just get some scissors. Just be careful when you snip your ties, you know, you don't want to obviously snip your yarn. So I'm just going to get rid of those two because they're not necessary, I don't think, to hold the skein just neatly once it's wound up. 2 is plenty. And then we can just skein it up and have a little look. The speckling looks gorgeous. Ooh, lovely speckles. It's a while since I've done a really nice speckled yarn, so that's really fun. So just give that a skein up. Seven. And then just pop the ends through. We've got a lovely skein. Oh, it's beautifully speckled. It's gorgeous. So let's just do one of the little coordinating minis. I do the same thing with the minis, although I mentioned before, but this latest batch of sparkly minis that I've had, I find it really difficult to identify which of the ends is the one that's holding the skein together. It's been tied differently, so I haven't, because previously I've snipped an end thinking it was just a tie, and it hasn't been. It's been the one that's holding the ends together. So I'm just going to leave all of the ties on because I don't want to snip the wrong one. Oh, it's a bit of a fluffy lump. You sometimes get that, a little bit of a fluffy lump in your skein. There we go. So I'm just going to leave the ties on these. (16, 17 turns. Lovely. And what I do with the ties, if they kind of annoy me, because I don't like the way they kind of dangle outside the skein like this, you can just sort of grab them. That can actually be trimmed a little bit. That is very long, that. So you can just trim trim it up, and then I just kind of tuck it into the skein, into the centre of the skein, and then at least you don't see the ends then poking out, and it looks a bit neater. Oh, it's lovely. So we've got our gorgeous Sirius and then Hogwarts at Dusk. So I will go ahead and just carry on winding these, and then we can take a closer look. So here we go. Oh, it's so lovely. And it's so different to the other colours that we've dyed in this series, and I'm going to show you the mitt in a second with those on, but it's just come out so pretty, so nice to do what actually has come out a really delicate speckled. Even though we use quite a lot of black, it just shows you really that you can get really good speckles using black, and there are lots of colours in that black. I find you do get black in the speckles, but then I'm getting shades of blue. There's sort of a shots of blue in there. At first I thought that it might be sort of like brownish tones. I don't think it is. I think it's more bluish tones. Definitely blues in there as well as the black, so that's just lovely. And then you've got those highlights of the really sort of yellowy greeny colour, and then the purple. And the purple, when you speckle it, you do get areas where it looks more kind of a pinky sort of colour, so there's obviously a lot of pink in that purple, I think. So gorgeous. That's the main skeins, and the minis came out adorable as well. They just look fantastic. I love having little bonus minis just for me to play with. Just gorgeous. I think they came out really lovely. And then of course we've got the coordinating Hogwarts at Dusk. So when you put them both together, I think it's just so pretty, you know, for a pair of socks. And as if by magic, I do actually have a pair of socks knit in this exact colourway. These I knit for Bryony, oh gosh, some years ago. She's worn and worn and worn these. These are the prairie socks pattern, and they're very pilly, but there's no holes at all. She still wears them. These have been through the washer I can't think how many times, and I think they still look really pretty good. And if we sort of compare the colour, although this one, I think there's more, I've put more of that yellowish in here. I don't think when I speckled those two accent colours on top, I don't think previously I used quite as much as I've used in today's dyeing, but you know, I think it's come out equally as pretty. So it's got a bit more of a yellowish tone, this one, than the original had. Well, I think it's just come out so pretty, and it's just gorgeously speckled. I am going to, so that's the socks, but I am going to start the second wrist tickler. This is the first wrist tickler that I've completed now, so I am going to start the second one with a skein of this. So I'll be able to show you that definitely on the next My Favourite Colourways. I will show you that. But we started off the series here with Hubba Bubba, and then we did Just Add Magic, Hobbitland, and now we've done Sirius. So lots of different techniques in all of these colours that we've done, and so nice to get one now which is very delicate compared to these colours. It's very delicate, so I think it'll be nice to have that contrast with the two wrist ticklers. I love these, you know, these, I've got, oh, I don't know how many pairs I've made of these. This is a free pattern of mine, and they're just great. I just pop them over my hand like that when I go for a walk. You can pull it right up, you know, to almost covering all your fingers. You can even tuck your fingers inside when it gets really chilly. But then I love that you can just pull it down and keep your wrists warm, because I always find if your wrists are warm, your body kind of feels warm. So that's the first one completed. I'm going to start the second one, and I'll probably show you that next time. So there we go. That's the lovely Sirius and Hogwarts at Dusk. I hope you enjoyed that, and I will see you next time for more My Favourite Colourways.
What What a stunning collection of gorgeous colourways. Oh my goodness. I love that purple so much. It absolutely does make me think of Parma Violets.
Yeah, I've got it right here.
But I've got to say, it is the Sirius that really draws the eye. What I love, though, about a really good contrasting colour, and I know it makes sense when you say the word contrasting colour, because doesn't that mean... is that a colour that's supposed to go with a main colour that enhances the main colour?
No, that's more of... Well, that's more of a complementary colour. Which, I mean, this is both... A contrast is something that it kind of stands out against the other thing, doesn't it? Right. There's a good contrast. It's
there's certainly a good contrast, but what I love about it is... But it is also complementary. You see so many contrasting colours that, in things that are jarring.
Yeah, quite often I do see sock sets, for example, and the contrast colour will just be completely random. Yeah. And it won't have any kind of association with the main skein at all. I don't really get that. I mean, each to their own. Everyone, obviously, can do whatever they want to do. But if I'm going to do a contrast mini that goes with a main skein, then it's got to really coordinate in some way. So either it's got to use one of the colours from the main skein, which is what we've done here, or it might be that it's just in the ballpark. Or you might have looked at a colour wheel and looked at like the opposite colour, for example. Or, I think I've got to have put some sort of thought into it and be sure in my own mind that it does actually go with it. And colour is such a personal choice anyway, that what one person thinks might go, another person might think doesn't. So it is a personal choice at the end of the day. But in this instance, it definitely coordinates because the colour was in the main skein.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
So yeah, these are the two colours here that we produced.
Amazing.
So you can see that purple speckle within the main skein, and it is actually amazing what you can produce just with one dye colour. If you look at this, there's so much interest in it. Yeah, it's so pretty. Yeah. So I took one of my main skeins of Sirius and wound it up. This is what it looks like all wound up. It's so lovely. I've started my second wrist tickler, which is a free pattern of mine, and here is how it knits up. Oh, it's so lovely. So this is on 64 stitches, 2.25mm, so you can see how it's going to knit up in a sock, basically. And it's just so lovely. Yeah. And I've got, by chance, the Progress Keeper I'm using is a Deathly Hallows one, look. So that's quite appropriate. So it knits up so pretty, so prettily.
Love it. So my favourite colourways is over for a little bit now. It'll be back in a few weeks.
Yes.
Next time, we've reached the halfway point in our Walk in the Wall series. And I promised you that Hadrian's Wall was going to open itself up to us like a book.
Yeah.
Well, in episode 4 of Walk in the Wall, we're going to get to the exciting chapters.
Yes.
Oh, yes. I mean, oh my goodness. We're going to the place which, for me, is synonymous with Hadrian's Wall, and it's the place which, previously, before we filmed this series, I would go to when someone said we're going to Hadrian's Wall for the day. So we're right in our stomping ground. Yeah. This is a part of the wall we know really well. But what I'm really looking forward to is getting off the beaten track and just exploring it a little bit deeper, like we do when we go for our amazing Walk in the Walls. Yeah. So looking forward to that next time. Right now, though, it's time for the Endy Bits.
Endy Bits already.
Oh, yes. Oh, my goodness. Do you have anything?
I've got one thing.
Okay.
I made one purchase.
Yes.
And I purchased something to use for our Christmas in July knit along, which we've mentioned already.
Yes.
I really wanted a new project bag. And, well, because don't we all? Let's face it. And I could have made one myself, but...
You care about your back?
Well, I could have made one.
Well, you could have, but then...
Yeah, I know I get back problems, and I know I am doing some sewing tomorrow.
I know,
Look, yeah, I know.
Calm down, dear.
Yeah, so calm down. And so what I did was I went to the person whose bags recently I've just been absolutely crazy mad on. And I asked her if she would actually make me a bag, and I'd pay for it, obviously.
You commissioned a bag.
I commissioned a bag. Those are the words.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's okay.
Yes, so I commissioned a bag to be made for me, and I just said I want Christmas fabrics, and I said I know I'm probably asking a lot in May for you to have Christmas fabrics, but luckily she did, and she made me a bag, and it's just the cutest thing in the world. So this bag was made by Emma at Moo and Mouse. I've mentioned Emma's bags before. So Moo and Mouse. And look at my adorable Christmas patchwork bag. Oh, I'll just give you a minute to look at all the cuteness. Look, there's sloths, and there's a hedgehog with a Christmas hat, there's baubles, there's rabbits, there's a unicorn down here with little gnomes.
You've got to show the jumper.
Oh, this is the best bit.
I want to make this.
Dan wants to make me this jumper.
I genuinely, really want to make this jumper.
Look at that jumper. Oh, I really want that jumper.
I don't know, I feel like it's not beyond the realms of possibility.
No, I think we could do that.
I think the only thing I might do, though, is I might carry on the colour work around the yoke onto the sleeves.
Yeah.
And then listen to this. I mean, how crazy is this?
Yeah, because that is a bit strange, isn't it, that it doesn't go on.
I'd carry it on.
It's obviously not a real jumper, so...
Maybe it will be one day.
Maybe it will be, but come on, a jumper with pink sleeves like that. But how cute is that? Just fantastic. And she made it me in what seemed like no time at all.
Did you put that on?
No, Emma put that on. Look, it's a little cute. She always puts these little cute...
And she wasn't aware of the mushroom house Stitchy U.
She wasn't aware of the mushroom house Stitchy U thing.
That's amazing.
No, I know. I just love it, so I can't wait. I have put some yarns in here which are possibles for the Christmas in July, but I haven't fully decided yet what I'm going to do. It might be that I've got to do Christmas... Oh, you know what I should do?
What?
I should knit Christmas socks that look like the jumper.
Yeah, perfect.
That would involve colour work. I don't know if I'm brave enough for that, but I don't know, we'll see. But anyway, fantastic bag. Can't wait to use that for our Christmas in July this long.
When we saw you last time, we were getting very excited about the upcoming release of the latest Knitability. Well,
yes,
it's out now.
It is.
And my goodness, it's going down an absolute treat. I've never had so many amazing messages sent through. So you can check it out right now. So got a great two great interviews in it.
Yeah.
But as you can see on the cover there, it's the great Tony Lipsy.
Yes.
And that interview has just gone down an absolute storm. But she is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
So it's no surprise. But there's loads of other great articles in there. And it's the wheel that keeps on turning. I mean, you know, all hail our amazing editor, Jen de Maria Keeler, who does the most amazing job.
Jen has no idea how much we love her.
Well, I do tell her quite a lot.
I think she does.
Perhaps she knows. Yeah. But what she's done is just really given us the opportunity to really, you know, drive forward with things like Walking the Wall and My Favourite Colourways and Kate's Cozy Kitchen. And, you know, Jen's taken everything that we developed with Knitability and just run with it, baby.
Yes.
Run with it and turn it into something.
Everything's so pretty.
Even more, yeah, it's way prettier than when I was doing it.
Yeah.
Yes. So yes, as we said earlier, Summer of Stitching is now well underway. So many exciting things on the way, but we've already said Moonstruck Socks course is already ongoing. The timed sock extravaganza is happening. Getting ready for those of you who saw that amazing bag and you're thinking, I've never hand embroidered before, but my goodness, I want that bag.
Yes.
Well, get ready for Stitchy U, which is coming in July and coming in August. Yeah. But I think that's it.
I think that's it.
Yes, so thank you so much for watching.
Thank you, everybody.
It's been wonderful to see you.
Yeah.
And we'll see you.
Have fun, whatever you're doing.
Yes. 2 weeks, we should be back in 2 weeks. We'll be walking the wall again. I can't wait for that one. So, yes, thank you so much for watching. And we'll see you soon.
See you soon, everyone.
Bye.
Sitting and knitting, it's Dan and Kay, the bakery bears. Enthusiasm's not quitting for Dan and Kay, the bakery bears. They'll take you to fabulous places of which their favorites they'll share. You better buy a pattern and get yourself a bakery bear. You'll find yourself in a castle while watching the bakery bears. It never feels like a hassle to sit and watch the bakery bears. What's on your shelf or what's in